Hello guys and welcome back to Planet 40k Necrons. We've of course got another unit review for you today. We're bringing you content every couple of days, and yeah, today we're going to be looking at the Triarch Praetorians, the Datasheet and all that jazz. But first, a little word from our sponsors today. This video is sponsored by our friends at TwoTrees, who have sent us a laser engraver for us to review and showcase for you today. Now, I'm not really a technical person, I'm more of a creator, and I've always fancied the idea of creating my own terrain and tokens, but without doing the old school fashioned cardboard and, the gluing DIY kind of way. Now, you might have looked into laser engravers yourself and had a little cry at the price, but this is where I think TwoTrees can fill that gap in the market. The model I have here is a TTS20 Pro Laser Engraver. Now, it does retail at $7.99, but they've got it up on their website at $6.39. That's in dollars. Now, we've actually got a discount code for $80 off of that price, which is an exclusive discount to us Planet 40k viewers. Now, I'm not going to give you an in-depth tutorial how to actually operate this machine, because they've got pretty decent tutorials on their website, but it does come with a very easy to follow instruction manual, and it is also 98% assembled when it arrives to your door. Now, I've had a little play here, and as you can see from this expert footage taken on my iPhone, and yes, that is my kitchen, better than a dark workroom to show you this great piece of kit. Here I have it on the engraving function, making a nice TwoTrees logo. It's got a massive working area of 480mm squared, which is 40% larger than any of the previous models. You can cut and engrave all sorts of materials from wood, plastic to leather. There are different programs you can use to create and edit the images you want to engrave or cut. Now, you don't need to have this connected to your computer, you can simply connect this wirelessly using an app from your phone or pad. Now, I've had a go at the cutting function as well, and as you can see, it works really well and it's super quick. So now I'm going to go and design some terrain. I'm probably going to need to find some downloadable templates first. So watch this space, and hopefully you'll see some homegrown Planet 40k terrain in some upcoming future videos. But thanks again to TwoTrees for sponsoring this video. Links for their website will be down in the description down below, and don't forget there'll be an $80 discount for Planet 40k viewers. Right, sponsors out of the way, let's get on with the data card for the Triarch Praetorians. We are looking at 135 points for 5 or 270 points for 10. That's quite pricey. That is quite pricey. I mean, they used to be 20 points each, so that's 100 for 5, 200 for 10. They've gone up 35 points per min unit, I suppose. That is quite a chunk. Now, as mentioned, you can get either 5 or 10. Every model is equipped with the Rod of Covenant, and you can basically swap out the Rod of Covenant with the Particle Caster and the Void Blade. So that's your options. They are, of course, infantry. They've got fly. They are infantry with fly, so therefore it's not as bad as it could be with, say, fly with a monster perhaps, because infantry can still get into ruins without a problem, so they're still breaching all those kind of walls and stuff. But let's flip this card over and let's talk about the data sheet as well as the statistics to begin. So the movement has gone down to 9 inches, toughness 5, 3 up armor, 2 wounds, leadership 7, and objective control is 1. So very similar to 9th edition, apart from that slight loss of movement with the 1 inch there. Fairly tough, toughness 5 with the 3 up armor, 2 wounds. I mean, it's okay. It is virtually immortal level there, but of course they're a lot more expensive. Let's move down into the range side of the data card. We're going to start with the Rod of Covenants because this is what they actually come stock with. We're going to talk about the range side and the melee side, then we'll move on to the options. So the Rod of Covenant has lost the assault keyword, so we can't be advancing and shooting with this thing anymore, unfortunately. It is a 12 inch, it's got 1 attack, 3 plus ballistic skill, strength 5, minus 2 AP and 2 damage. So we've lost a slight bit of AP there. That's standard, we're okay with that. Minus 2 is just fine. It is only 1 shot each, so you can't expect a massive amount, I suppose. I mean, if you've got 10 of them, that's between 6 and 7 hits. Going up against toughness 4, you're looking at about 4 or 5 wounds there. And the AP minus 2 it's okay. It puts a Space Marine on a 5 plus armor save, so you're likely to kill 1 or 2 of them. Now, the melee side of the war gear is again the Rod of Covenant. It's the same weapon. You've got 3 attacks with it. Weapon skill 3 plus, strength is 5, minus 2 AP and 2 damage. Virtually the exact same statistics there. Again, we've dropped AP. Now I've got 3 attacks rather than 1 shot, so they're actually much better in combat, of course. Now, of course, if you are shooting before you make the charge move, your opponent is likely going to be pulling from the front to make your charge move more difficult. And if they're coming from deep strike, which we've kind of jumped the gun there, that's one of the abilities that we'll talk about. If you're coming from deep strike, that's already a 9 inch charge. but we'll talk about that in a moment. Now the other options here is the Particle Caster with the Void Blade. So the Particle Caster is the ranged weapon. It's got devastating wounds, and it's actually got 3 shots per model. It used to only be 2. So again, if you've got a unit of 10 of these, that's actually 30 shots with dead wounds there. They're pistols, so they can be fired into engagement range on top of that, and they're hitting on 2s, which is a little bit of a strange one. They're hitting on 2s rather than 3s. The only other unit I've seen that with so far is the Canoptic Wraiths with their Particle Caster, so it must be a pistol thing. So the strength has gone down to strength 5, no AP, 1 damage, but I think that's okay to be fair. 30 shots with a 10-man unit. The likelihood is you're probably taking a 5-man unit realistically, because 10-man is quite expensive. So a 5-man unit, that's 15 shots, between 12 and 13 hits. And again, going up against toughness 4, you're looking at about between 8 and 9 wounds there. Now no AP of course, there will be 1 or 2 dev wounds in there as well on average. So you're going to be doing a bit of work with that. And that's at range. Now once you get into a fight, once you're in engagement range, the Void Blades have got 4 attacks each. So that becomes even more deadly. You've got 1 extra attack over the Rod of Covenant. Weapon skill 3+, strength is 5, minus 2 AP, but now you've dropped damage. You're now down to only 1 damage, very similar to the Particle Caster. So you're getting more attacks with the Caster and Void Blade rather than the Covenant, the Rod of Covenant. But there are bonuses to each, I suppose. I don't know where I stand. Which one do I actually prefer? The dev wounds with pistols or the damage 2? I suppose it depends on who you're going up against. If you don't know who you're going up against, I'd probably favour the Rod of Covenants just because the damage is damage 2. But yeah, if you're going up against a Horde unit potentially or lots of light infantry, then the other option is better. So as for the abilities, they've now got Deep Strike. They've sort of taken the role of the Flayed ones, because the Flayed ones have now got the Infiltrator's keyword or ability. So these guys are now your Deep Strike unit, which means they can not only be doing their Deep Strike assault, but they can be doing some secondary objectives. We'll talk about that when we talk about the battlefield role later in this video. So they've got Deep Strike, they've of course got reanimation protocols, and they've got their unique ability Relentless Combatants. So they can re-roll their charge roll, and they're also eligible to declare a charge in a turn in which they fell back. Which is pretty good, because if you're coming from Deep Strike, you've got that 9-inch charge, and you're going to be shooting, so potentially, like we mentioned, your opponent may take from the front rather than the back. So that 9-inch could become a 10 or an 11-inch charge. So you've kind of got to work out if you need to actually shoot or not at that specific unit. Maybe you go for another unit completely. That's the ideal situation. You shoot at one, charge another one. That way you've only got a 9-inch charge and it is re-rollable. Now the ability to declare a charge in the turn that you've fallen back, that's good and bad. I mean, if you're taking the Particle Casters, you're better off staying within engagement range, because then you can fire. Because as soon as you do fall back, you're not going to be able to fire. But if you haven't taken the Casters and you're taking the Rod of Covenant, then yeah, definitely fall back, because you can recharge, which means you're going to get your fight first ability when you make that charge move, because you're only going to move back a couple of inches, so the charge move will be pretty much a done deal. So you're virtually fighting first, but yeah, if you've got the pistols, I would just stay in engagement range. Unless you want to fight first, of course. Maybe you do in fact. Maybe the Void Blade is more beneficial to use than the Particle Casters. Up to you, I guess. It's up to you. Let's look at some synergy before we get into the battlefield role. So we've got a lot of stratagems to talk about here. We've got the Protocol of Hungry Void for a +1 to the strength. That will take them to strength 6. Only really has any effect against toughness 3 because you're wounded on 2s. Toughness 5 because you're wounding them on 3s. And of course toughness 6 because you're now wounding them on 4s. But any other toughnesses is not going to do much. You do also get a bit of armor penetration if you are led. Now there are no leaders for this unit, but you could take a leader such as the Hexmark Destroyer with the Sovereign Coronal Aura, and he could be leading the unit. So not only will they get their extra boost with the stratagems, but they're also going to get a +1 to their hit rolls. Now the casters are already a 2+, so it's not going to affect them unless there's a -1 to hit penalty. Other stratagems of note, you've got the Protocol of Vengeful Stars. If you lose a model in the shooting phase, you can shoot as if it was our turn, as if it was our shooting phase, which can be handy. Maybe you've got better options elsewhere to use that on. Protocol of Conquering Tyrant to be able to re-roll your win rolls. Again, maybe you've got better options elsewhere, but you've got the option there. They can still do it. Protocol of Undying Legions. Again, repeating myself here. If you lose a model, you can use this to bring. You basically do reanimation protocols there and then in your opponent's shooting phase or any of the fight phases. Probably want to be saving that for Necron Warriors and stuff like that. But maybe there's an Overlord in there, so then you get to use that stratagem again, and it's for free. Protocol of Sunstorm to add Assault to your weapons, because, well, we've lost Assault, haven't we? The Rod of Covenants don't have Assault anymore. If you know you're not going to make a charge move in this specific turn, then you may as well just go for the Assault move. lining up your charge move for the next turn. And there's one from the core rulebook that I wanted to throw in here. Rapid ingress in your opponent's movement phase. You can bring these guys in from reserves more than 9 inches away from enemy models. And what you would do, you would only do this if you're going to get them behind terrain. You need to be out of sight, because if you just put them in sight, then they're just going to get targeted. They're just going to get shot, maybe even charged. So you just throw them away at that point. So if you can get them behind obscuring terrain, that way they're not going to get targeted. They're probably not going to get charged. And then when it's our turn, instead of having a 9-inch charge, we're going to be moving through that ruin with our 9-inch movement, and then we've virtually got a free charge move. We're going to be in guaranteed no matter what. Let's move on to the battlefield role now. Now what I've done from this video onwards, I've kind of put a little bit more information in this section, specifically with the secondary objectives, because the battlefield role was kind of feeling a bit similar to the pros and cons, so I kind of wanted to divide it up and change it a little bit. So the battlefield role to begin, mainly it's for their deep strike. That's what they're doing. They're either going on the assault with their charge move, or they're going to be doing their secondary objectives. But third of all, you're going to be forcing your opponent to screen their back lines. If they know you've got a deep strike unit coming in, they don't want to leave any gaps, so they're going to have to commit some units to be in their own deployment zone to shield these areas. So there's a little bit of a psychological advantage to you by doing that. Secondary mission wise, there's quite a lot to talk about here, to be honest with you. They can do a lot. Extend battle lines, secure no man's land. They're the ones that revolve around the no man's land area. Of course, you need to get onto an objective. They can do that. That doesn't involve getting into your enemy deployment zone, but they can do that if you wanted to. Investigate signals, it's the corners. They can get into the corners. Behind enemy lines, very similar. They can get behind there. Engage on all fronts is virtually anywhere. Deploy teleport homers, again it's your opponent's deployment zone. They can get there with deep strike. Capture enemy outpost, yep. If you do make that charge move specifically, then yeah, they're going to not only get behind enemy lines, but you could also capture that outpost. Overwhelming force, you're just taking an objective. Attempting target, taking an objective that your opponent selected. Cleanse is a little action on an objective, and storm hostile objective. Again, it's some of these are very similar, but these Triarch Praetorians can do quite a lot of them. You can even throw in no prisoners potentially if they can do the work. They're not likely to be doing bring it down, not likely to be doing assassination, but all the other ones they can pretty much do, so they're actually not too bad in terms of scoring. Let's get on to the pros and cons. Let's start with the pros. They've got the deep strike ability, of course. That's a very big pro for any faction in the 40k game. They've got a rerollable charge move, which is very, very unique because they're coming in from deep strike and rerolling that 9-inch charge. Not too bad. They've got the fallback and recharge if you wanted to, ideally not with the casters because they're just going to be firing into engagement anyway. Both range and melee attacks, again, is fairly unique to our codex. Most of our units are either shooty or fighty, they don't do both. You've got synergy with 5 out of 6 of the Necron stratagems, which is pretty cool, and they're decent at scoring your secondaries. As for the cons, they're quite a pricey unit. I think that's a big con. 135 points for 5, quite a pricey investment. They've got no invulnerable save, they've got no natural leader. Of course you can get the enhancement on Hexmark Destroyer, but they've got no natural leader. They're competing with other units as well. This is my final point in fact, and I've just put the units that they're competing with. Deathmarks because they've got the deep strike ability. Hexmark Destroyers, they've also got the deep strike, and Ophidian Destroyers have also got the deep strike. Now Ophidians can pop in and out continuously with their tunneling horrors, so they're a big competitor for the Triarch Praetorians, because once the Triarch Praetorians come in, they're in. They've got to be, they're not popping out again. Yes, they're moving 9 inches. Yes, they've got a rerollable charge, so they're gaining some ground. But you now need to expect the Praetorians to actually do some damage when they come in. Whereas the Ophidian Destroyers, the Deathmarks, and the Hexmark, they can kind of sit where they are and just chill, or, if in the case of the Ophidians, can leave and come back again. Let's get on to the Planet 40k rating to date for the Triarch Praetorians. Now, as I've gone through this video, I've in fact slightly changed my mind. I mean, in the big tier list we did, I gave them, I think I put them in the C tier. Might have been a little bit harsh. After looking at all the secondaries they can do, I think that was probably a tad too harsh. Although they are quite pricey, so that is a huge flaw for them. So I'm going to go with the middle of the road here, 3 stars. I'd probably bump them up to B tier. But yeah, I'm going to go with 3 stars for me. It's the bottom of B tier though, bottom of B tier. So guys, let me know what you think in the comments down below, and also subscribe on your exits. Thank you all for watching. See you in the next one.